Imagine a place where there was nothing but sand, scorching heat, and silence. No factories, no highways, no skyscrapers. Today, that same land holds some of the tallest buildings in the world. That same region controls one of the most valuable resources ever discovered, and its rulers possess wealth greater than entire nations. This wasn't magic. This wasn't luck. This was one discovery. A discovery that changed not only the Middle East, but the entire world. For centuries, the Middle East was seen as a harsh and unforgiving land. Before the 1900s, countries we now know as rich and powerful looked completely different. Saudi Arabia was mostly endless desert. The UAE was made up of small fishing villages and pearl divers. Kuwait was a tiny coastal settlement surviving through trade and the sea. Life was extremely difficult. People lived in scattered tribes. Water was rare. Farming was almost impossible. Industry barely existed. There were no giant cities, no modern infrastructure, no massive economies. At that time, the centers of global power were Britain, France, and America. The Middle East had little importance on the world stage. Most people looked at the desert and saw nothing. But beneath that endless sand lay one of the greatest fortunes in human history. Then came the discovery that changed everything. In the early 1900s, foreign geologists began exploring the region. They searched the ground beneath the deserts, and eventually, they struck something enormous. Oil, not small amounts, massive reserves, more than anyone had imagined. In 1938, Saudi Arabia discovered commercial quantities of oil for the first time. And suddenly, the world began paying attention. Foreign companies rushed in. American oil corporations arrived. British firms followed. Governments competed for agreements and influence. Because this wasn't just about black liquid underground. This was energy, and energy meant power. The modern world runs on oil. Without it, economies slow down. Industries stop. Transportation collapses. Most people think oil only powers cars, but oil touches nearly every part of modern life. Even many everyday items inside homes depend on oil in one way or another. Oil became the fuel behind industrial civilization. And when the world realized the Middle East held some of the largest oil reserves on Earth, everything changed. Suddenly, deserts became strategic gold mines. The money started flowing, and it flowed at a scale few had ever seen before. Countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE began transforming rapidly. Roads appeared where there had once been sand. Ports were built in empty deserts. Massive buildings rose from the ground. Entire cities were redesigned from scratch. Places that once depended on fishing and survival became centers of wealth, luxury, and global business. Take Dubai as an example. In the mid-20th century, it was a small desert settlement with limited development. Few paved roads, simple buildings, small trade markets. But within decades, it transformed into one of the most famous cities on Earth. Skyscrapers touched the sky. Luxury hotels appeared. Massive shopping malls were built. Tourism exploded. The city became a symbol of ambition and wealth. Oil wealth helped make that transformation possible. But here's the reality many people don't talk about. Oil did not make every country rich. Some nations discovered oil, yet still faced poverty, corruption, instability, or war. Countries like the UAE and Kuwait became extremely wealthy. Others, such as Iraq and Syria, suffered conflict and economic destruction. Why? Because oil brought more than wealth. It brought competition. Global powers wanted influence. Foreign governments became deeply involved. Political struggles intensified. Conflicts grew around control of resources. In many places, ordinary citizens never fully benefited from the enormous wealth beneath their land. Oil created billionaires, but it also created battles. For some countries, oil became a blessing. For others, a curse. And there was another reason the Middle East became so important: geography. The region sits at one of the most important crossroads on Earth. One place matters more than almost any other: the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway between Iran and Oman. Every day, a huge percentage of the world's oil supply passes through this route. If shipping stops there, fuel prices can rise globally. Markets panic, trade slows, air travel becomes more expensive, factories suffer, the entire world feels the impact. This is why major powers have always watched the Middle East closely. America, China, Russia, European nations. Because whoever influences energy routes influences the global economy. But now, the story is beginning to change. The world is slowly moving toward cleaner energy. Electric vehicles are growing, solar power is expanding, wind energy is becoming stronger. And many experts believe the world may rely less on oil in the future. Middle Eastern countries already understand this. That's why many are investing in new industries: tourism, technology, finance. Artificial intelligence, massive futuristic projects. Saudi Arabia's Neom City is one example of this shift. A giant futuristic development designed to prepare for a future beyond oil. Because leaders in the region know something important. Oil may not last forever, and the nations that survive the future will be the ones that adapt. For thousands of years, the Middle East was known mostly for deserts and survival. Then one discovery changed everything. Oil turned sand into wealth, villages into megacities, local tribes into global power players.